Hello, curious minds. Welcome to this intellectual journey. Have you ever wondered with a shiver what exactly lies on the other side? What shape does that place we call the afterlife take? The answer might surprise you more than you imagine, and it's been hidden in plain sight for centuries. What if I told you that the map of hell and paradise has already been drawn, not once, but many times by cultures that never even touched each other? And that when you compare them, they reveal a secret code, not about gods or demons, but about the human mind itself. Today, we're going to decipher that code together. Before we begin our descent and subsequent ascent, I wanted to tell you something about the images you're seeing. To bring this narrative to life, I've used artificial intelligence tools. So think of them as a canvas, a way to illustrate the ideas and the atmosphere of what I'm telling you. They won't always be an exact or literal representation of ancient texts, but rather a visual accompaniment to let your imagination soar with me. They are artistic interpretations to immerse ourselves in the mystery. I sincerely hope you enjoy them and that they help you feel the magnitude of these stories. To understand these maps, we must first understand the cartographer, humanity itself. Ever since we gained consciousness, death has been the greatest abyss, the unanswered question. Uncertainty is a terror our minds cannot bear. We crave order, structure, a sense of justice. And so, each civilization took its deepest fears, its highest hopes, and its most sacred values, projecting them onto the canvas of eternity. They created systems. They drew detailed maps of punishment and reward. These aren't just stories, they are the first systems of cosmic order. Our first cartographer is perhaps the most famous in the Western world, Dante Alighieri. In the 14th century, he didn't just write a poem, he designed the definitive architecture of Christian hell, a place of brutal logic and impeccable organization, a funnel of suffering that descends to the center of the earth. Dante's Inferno is structured into 9 concentric circles, each dedicated to a specific sin, from lust at the top to treachery in the frozen depths. It's not a chaos of fire and screams, it's a divine judicial system, precise and terrifyingly ordered. The key to understanding Dante lies in one word, contrapasso. It's an Italian term meaning that the punishment is a symbolic replica of the sin. The lustful who allowed themselves to be carried by the winds of passion are now eternally swept by a relentless hurricane. It's a poetic and terrifying form of justice. The flatterers who in life uttered lies to please others are now submerged in excrement. Their punishment reflects the filth of their words. Dante shows us that in his vision, sin is not just an offense against God, but a perversion of the universe's logic that must be corrected. This hell is a direct reflection of medieval European society, a society obsessed with order, hierarchy, and theology. Every demon, every punishment, every landscape reinforces a worldview where every action has an eternal and perfectly calibrated consequence. Dante didn't just give us a vision of hell, he gave us a mirror into the medieval mind, one that yearned for a universe where, in the end, everything made perfect sense, even if that sense was eternal suffering. It's a map born from the need for absolute justice. Now let's journey to a different world and a different faith. To the Islamic tradition, and one of the most profound spiritual experiences ever narrated, the Miraj, the night journey and ascension of the Prophet Muhammad. Here, the map of the afterlife isn't explored as an exile, but as an honored guest. The Miraj is not a descent into punishment, but an ascent through the 7 heavens towards the divine presence. On this journey, guided by the angel Gabriel, Muhammad not only sees paradise and hell, but also encounters earlier prophets like Moses and Abraham at each celestial level. The Islamic vision of the afterlife, or akhirah, is also a place of justice. Hell, or Jahannam, has different levels of punishment according to the misdeeds committed, but the emphasis is different. It's often presented as a place of purification, where some sinners can be cleansed before entering paradise. Paradise, or Jannah, is described with exquisite sensory detail. Gardens through which rivers flow, trees with eternally ripe fruits, pavilions of pearls. It's a tangible reward, a direct appeal to the idea of eternal rest and pleasure after the hardships of earthly life. Unlike Dante's architectural and legalistic map, the Miraj is an experiential and personal one. It's a direct revelation. The structure exists, but the narrative focuses on the individual's spiritual journey and God's immense mercy, which always offers a path back. This map reflects a culture where a personal relationship with the divine and revelation are central. The afterlife is not just a cosmic judicial system, but the destination of a spiritual journey that begins in life. Justice is balanced by a profound current of compassion. But what if the afterlife isn't a final destination, but a way station? What if hell wasn't a place of eternal punishment, but an immense and complex spiritual correctional office? To find this model, we must journey even further east, to the fascinating vision of the afterlife in China. Let me introduce you to Diyu. In Chinese mythology, Diyu is the realm of the dead, often translated as hell, but this translation is misleading. Imagine the afterlife not as a realm of terror, but as a vast celestial bureaucracy, an administrative system for the soul. Diyu is governed by the 10 kings of Yama, who act as judges. Each soul, upon death, must pass through each of the 10 courts to be judged for their actions in life. It's a methodical process, almost like a spiritual audit. Every good and bad action is carefully weighed. Each court has its own specific punishments for different types of transgressions, from being thrown onto mountains of knives for harming others to being ground in a mill for wasting food. The punishments are graphic and specific, but they have a clear purpose: rectification, not revenge. And here comes the twist that changes everything. For most souls, a stay in Diyu is not eternal. It's a purge, a process to cleanse accumulated negative karma. Once the debt has been paid, the soul is brought before Lady Meng Po. She is a key figure. Lady Meng Po offers souls a special concoction, the soup of 5 flavors of forgetfulness. Upon drinking it, they forget their past life and their time in Diyu and are sent back to the wheel of reincarnation to be reborn. The system doesn't seek endless punishment, but a reset. This map of the afterlife is a reflection of concepts deeply rooted in Chinese culture. Confucianism, with its emphasis on social order and bureaucracy, and Buddhism, with its ideas of karma and reincarnation. The universe is a just and self-regulating system. So we have 3 astounding maps: Dante's architectural and legalistic hell, a system of eternal poetic justice; the revelatory journey of the Mirage, where divine justice is tempered by mercy; and Diyu's spiritual bureaucracy, a system of purification and reset. They seem like entirely different worlds, born from cultures with no contact. One is a court, another a pilgrimage, and the last a government office. But now let's look closer. Let's look beyond the demons, angels, and judges. What is the secret code that connects them all? The secret isn't in the details of the punishments or rewards. The secret is the map itself. The revelation is that all of them, without exception, are born from a fundamental, inescapable human impulse: the urge to impose order on the absolute chaos of death. No one has returned from death to tell us what it's like. So we've imagined it with the tools we know best. Dante used the scholastic logic and theology of his time. The Islamic tradition used prophetic revelation and devotion. Chinese culture used its sophisticated bureaucratic system. The afterlife is the ultimate mirror of life. Each culture projected its deepest value system onto eternity. Hell and paradise are reflections of what a society fears, loves, and above all, how it understands justice. They are an echo of their own social and mental structures. Dante doesn't describe hell, he describes the medieval fear of disorder. The Mirage doesn't just describe heaven, it describes the yearning for a personal, merciful connection with the divine. Diyu doesn't just describe purgation, it describes the belief in a balanced, cyclical universe. The secret code of the afterlife is that it tells us more about ourselves than anything else. It's the story of our struggle against nothingness, our desperate attempt to ensure that our actions, our lives, have a meaning that resonates in eternity. A consequence? These maps, ancient as they are, have never lost their power. Because the question they try to answer remains the most important of all: is there an order behind everything? Is there justice at the end of the road? Each of these visions, in its own way, screams a resounding yes. Next time you think of hell or paradise, don't just think of fire or clouds. Think of the architecture of the human mind, the need for structure, and the incredible power of narrative to shape our reality and our eternity. It's the greatest construction project in history. So we've seen the law in Dante's hell, mercy in the Islamic heavens, and bureaucratic order in the Chinese afterlife. 3 judicial systems for the soul. Think about it for a moment. Each is an answer to the same question about ultimate justice and the purpose of our actions. In Dante's world, justice is immutable and eternal. Once the sentence is passed, there's no appeal. The system is designed to be an ultimate deterrent, a warning that life's choices carry absolute weight. The structure reflects a vision of God who is, above all, a perfect judge. Now let's contrast that with the approach of the Mirage. Here there's also judgment, but the narrative is imbued with the possibility of redemption. The emphasis on God's mercy, or Rahmah, suggests that divine justice is not only retributive but also restorative. There is always an open door. And then we have Diyu, which presents justice not as an end, but as a process. It's a corrective system. The soul isn't condemned forever. It's processed, cleansed, and recycled. Justice here is pragmatic. Its goal is to maintain cosmic balance, not to execute eternal revenge. These differences are crucial. They show us that justice is not a monolithic concept. It depends on the culture. For some, it's a final verdict. For others, an opportunity for forgiveness. And for still others, a necessary step in an endless cycle. The map of the afterlife is, in essence, the penal code of the soul. Let's explore the geography of these worlds a bit more. Dante's hell is claustrophobic. It's a constant descent into narrower, darker, colder places. The physical universe contracts as moral evil increases, culminating in the frozen center where Lucifer resides. Conversely, the journey of the mirage is one of expansion. It's an ascent through increasingly vast and luminous heavens. Space opens up, light intensifies, and the journey culminates in the ineffable, formless presence of God. It's a movement from the earthly and limited towards the infinite and spiritual. Dieu's geography is earthly yet dreamlike. It's often described with bridges that souls must cross, rivers of blood, and walled cities housing the courts. It's a landscape that uniquely blends the natural with the bureaucratic, a parallel world that mimics and distorts our own. A geography of contraction, one of expansion, and one of imitation. These aren't random aesthetic choices. They reflect profound philosophical ideas. Sin is a contraction of the self, faith as an expansion of the soul, and karma as a process unfolding in a world that echoes our own. Let's talk about the guides. Dante doesn't travel alone. He's guided by the poet Virgil, who represents human reason. But reason can only take him to the gates of paradise. To enter, he needs Beatrice, who symbolizes faith and divine revelation, a two-stage journey. Muhammad also has a guide, the angel Gabriel. His guide is not human reason, but God's direct messenger. This underscores the idea that knowledge of the afterlife is not attained through human intellect alone, but must be granted as grace, as divine revelation. In Dieu, the guides are more functional. They are the ox-headed and horse-faced guards known as Nutu and Mamian. They are the ushers of the underworld, the officials who escort souls from one court to another. They don't offer wisdom, they enforce the process. They are the law, not the guide. Reason, revelation, and regulation. The guides of each journey tell us how each culture believed the question of mortality could be navigated. Through intellect and faith, through submission to divine will, or through participation in an inescapable cosmic system. It's fascinating how even the senses are described differently. Dante focuses on physical and psychological pain, the chill of ice, the burning of fire, pestilence, the noise of wailing. It's an assault on the senses designed to convey the soul's torment. The Islamic paradise jannah is a symphony for the senses. The fragrance of musk, the taste of never-ending fruits, the touch of silk, the sound of flowing water. It's a reward that appeals to a yearning for peace and sensory pleasure after a life of trials. In Dieu, sensory descriptions also focus on punishment, but with a nuance of industrial process. The sound of mills grinding bones, the smell of boiling oil in vast cauldrons. It's suffering as part of a procedure, not just as a state of being. Pain as a state, pleasure as a reward, suffering as a procedure. The way each culture imagined the sensations of the afterlife reveals what they considered the exact opposite of a good and fulfilling life. Hell is not just a place, it's the antithesis of everything we value. Let's look at the idea of time. In Dante's hell, time stands still. Punishment is eternal, monotonous, endless. The phrase inscribed on the gates of hell makes it clear, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." Hope requires a future, and there is none there. In the Islamic conception, time is also eternal in the afterlife. Both reward in paradise and punishment in hell last forever. Earthly time is a finite test, and eternity is the immutable outcome of how that time was lived. It's a permanent change of state. Dieu again breaks the mold. Time is a sentence, not a state. Souls are punished for a determined period proportional to their transgressions. Time in Dieu is a period of incarceration, not an eternity. It's a system with a beginning and an end, leading to a new beginning. Static eternity, eternity as outcome or time as sentence. These three visions of time after death show us three ways to understand the impact of our lives. Do our actions define us forever? Do they lead us to a final destiny? Or are they debts that must be paid before we can move on? Finally, let's consider the purpose of these stories. Dante's Divine Comedy wasn't just meant to scare people. It was an allegory for the human soul's journey in life from sin, inferno, through repentance, purgatorio, towards salvation, paradiso. It's a map for life, not just for death. The story of the Mi'raj also has an earthly purpose. It serves as a source of comfort and strength for believers, affirming the prophet's connection to the divine and offering a glimpse into the ultimate reward awaiting the righteous. It's an anchor of faith. The stories of Dieu, often told in popular texts and operas, served as a tool for social cohesion. They reinforced values like filial piety, honesty, and frugality, warning that even unseen acts on earth would be judged by the celestial bureaucracy. It's a manual of civic ethics. Moral guide, anchor of faith, and ethics manual. The three maps don't just describe a destination, they prescribe a path. They use the architecture of eternity to build a framework for morality on earth. They are ultimately tools for living, We've journeyed through circles of ice, ascended through heavens of light, and waited in line at spectral courts. And we've discovered that these worlds, so distant in geography and theology, are incredibly close in their human purpose. Each system is a work of art, a psychological construction of astonishing complexity. Consider the level of detail. Dante doesn't just say, sinners are punished. He assigns a specific place, a specific demon, and a specific method for each type of sinner, from the mildest to the most severe. This precision isn't accidental. It's an attempt to demonstrate that the universe is not arbitrary. If punishment is so specific and well organized, then the moral universe must be equally ordered. It's an argument for meaning through design. Similarly, the seven heavens of the Mirage, each with its own prophet and nature, are not just a fantasy. They represent a spiritual hierarchy, a stepped path of growth and closeness to the divine. The soul's journey has stages. It has a logical progression towards enlightenment. And Dieu's bureaucracy, with its 10 courts, its detailed records of good and bad deeds, and its specific procedures, is perhaps the clearest expression of an afterlife as a system. It looks less like a divine monarchy and more like a perfect, incorruptible judicial machinery. What's truly resonant here, what echoes through the centuries, is this idea that there's no escaping the system. Whether it's a theological, spiritual, or bureaucratic system, our actions are being recorded. There's a final reckoning. This idea is both terrifying and profoundly comforting. Terrifying because it implies total responsibility, but comforting because it suggests that injustice on earth is temporary. Tyrants will be punished, the righteous will be rewarded, the chaos of human life will find perfect order in the end. It's a promise that nothing is in vain. These maps of the afterlife are, therefore, the first manifestos on personal responsibility and cosmic justice. They tell the individual, your choices matter. You don't live in a vacuum. You are part of a moral system much larger than yourself. This message was incredibly powerful in medieval worlds often plagued by plagues, wars, and injustices. It offered an invisible structure that gave meaning to suffering and purpose to virtue, even when the visible world seemed like senseless chaos. And today, in our secular world, often chaotic and seemingly without a grand plan, don't we still seek a system? Whether through science, philosophy, or ideologies, we continue to try to find or create an order that gives meaning to our existence. Technology has changed, clothing has changed, buildings have changed, but the brain that asks these questions is fundamentally the same. The fear of emptiness and the yearning for justice are as real for us as they were for Dante or for the sages of medieval China. That's why these stories are still alive. Not as relics, but as active documents of the human condition. When we read Dante, we're not just reading about hell, we're reading about the anatomy of justice. And it's an anatomy that, in its basic principles, we still recognize. These aren't just maps of the afterlife, they are maps of the human psyche. They show us the architectures we build to contain our greatest fears and to provide a foundation for our deepest hopes. Hell is the blueprint of our fears, and paradise that of our yearnings. The true legacy of these visions isn't literal belief in their demons and angels. It's the understanding that we are creatures who need maps. We need narratives. We need to believe that the journey, however difficult, has a meaningful destination. The impulse of Dante, of Muhammad, of Dieu's creators, is the same impulse that drives us to tell stories, to make art, to seek knowledge. It's the impulse to take the overwhelming complexity of the universe and chart a path through it, a path we can understand and follow. In every culture, the afterlife becomes the final exam, the ultimate test of whether a life was lived correctly according to that society's rules. It's the ultimate quality control mechanism for the human soul, designed by humans themselves. We might think we've outgrown these medieval fantasies, but our modern fictions are full of them. From intergalactic justice systems in science fiction to battles between good and evil in fantasy, we continue to draw these moral maps. We remain obsessed with the idea that actions have consequences, that there is order, that the universe somehow is just. We've only changed the names of the judges and the geography of the courts. The court might now be history, society, or our own conscience. So the hidden code, the great revelation, is this. The maps of the afterlife were never about death. They were always about life. They were and still are our grandest attempt to convince ourselves that life matters, that living with justice, compassion, and order has eternal value. It's an idea so powerful that 3 cultures in 3 different corners of the world built it independently, using the materials they had at hand: theology, bureaucracy, revelation. The result was different, but the blueprint was the same, the blueprint of the human need for meaning. So in the end, the hidden map of the afterlife doesn't lead us to another world. It leads us directly to the heart of our own, to the heart of what it means to be human, to strive for justice, to yearn for order, and to have the audacity to draw a map for the greatest abyss of all. And here we arrive at the deepest point of our journey, the most impactful conclusion. If all these maps are a reflection of the society that created them, what map of the afterlife are we creating right now in the 21st century with our actions and our values? Perhaps our hell is no longer one of fire, but of irrelevance and disconnection, the fear of being forgotten in the digital noise. A place where sins are misinformation and anonymous cruelty, and the punishment is an empty echo in an endless echo chamber. And our paradise might not be a garden, but a utopia of self-optimization and perpetual success. A perfectly curated existence, without pain, without friction, but perhaps also without deep meaning. A reward based on productivity and external validation. You don't need to believe in the supernatural to understand that we are still building these worlds. We build them in our social media, in our economic structures, and in the stories we tell ourselves about success and failure. We remain cartographers of consequence. The lesson from Dante, the Mirage, and DU is that the maps we draw for tomorrow determine how we live today. So the question they leave us with isn't what happens after death, but what kind of life is demanded by the afterlife we are imagining for ourselves. In summary, we've seen that visions of the afterlife aren't just ghost stories. They are complex philosophical systems that reveal the cultural DNA of a civilization. They are humanity's attempt to create order, ensure justice, and ultimately give transcendent meaning to our ephemeral lives. The map of the afterlife is humanity's greatest self-portrait project, and by studying it, we don't learn about what awaits us after we die, but rather, with astonishing clarity, about who we were, who we are, and who we are becoming. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time, faith, and literature. It's been an honor to explore these profound ideas with you. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did. History is a treasure trove of wisdom if we know where to look. If you're passionate about these mysteries of history and the human mind, and you want to keep deciphering the hidden codes in our culture, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way, you won't miss any of our future intellectual explorations. And now, the question for you, which of these three visions of the afterlife resonated with you the most? Dante's legal order, the mercy of the Mirage, or DU's cyclical justice? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to read your reflections.